on and murders of women have been major headlines over the last few months, with calls for more protection for women being made by various organisations and by MPs on all sides in Parliament. But is that the whole story? What about the attacks on men? What about men being murdered? Are we doing enough? Mike Butler has been digging into the figures. Mike, before we begin, what led you to be interested in researching this?
Well, personal experience. Back in 1988, 2 a.m, I was walking back to the flat I lived in at the time when I was attacked and robbed by a young man with a large knife. When the Metropolitan Police arrived, they decided, even though they knew where he was, they couldn't go over and get him because they didn't want to cause an incident. Also, the ongoing inquest into the Stephen Port murders also made me want to look further into this.
And what has your research uncovered?
Well, interestingly, this chart shows violent incidents year on year recorded by the government using police statistics. Clearly, violent crime is down substantially from a high in 1995, but it is now holding steady. So we are in fact safer than we were walking the streets than we were 25 years ago. This chart was compiled using Metropolitan Police reports by the Office for National Statistics and shows the number of reported attacks in thousands broken down by category. Reported domestic violence is higher for women than men. The interesting figure here is those attacks by a stranger. Men are around 3.5 times more likely to be attacked on the street than women. And in this third chart on homicides, including domestic attacks, it shows that the numbers of murders for men are both increasing and the number for women is decreasing. And what we've got is a murder rate of roughly 12 persons per million, which we have 17 per million being men and 6 per million being women, which means men are 3 times more likely to be murdered, though it's rare to be murdered in the UK. Overall, the public perception seems to be that women are being attacked in numbers, but little or no significance is attached to the attacks on men.
I see that the statistics show that men are more likely to be attacked by strangers than women, but recently in the news we have seen the total opposite. For example, Sarah Everard, Sabina Nisa, or the 2 sisters, Nicole Smallman and Beba Henry, who were randomly attacked. So why is this?
Well, first, this is not about men getting a raw deal, as women hold the headlines. It's that women are probably seen as different to men. And what we should be doing is trying to find ways of preventing these attacks and murders for both men and women, not setting priorities for one over the other. The other thing is the extent at which these crimes are reported. During the time that these cases have been in the headlines, there have been 2 sets of male rapes reported on BBC regional news that have not made the main headlines, and several deaths of young men, particularly stabbings, that only occur in local news headlines and don't seem to hit the major news channels so much anymore. The only case that has been highlighted strongly are those of the Stephen Port murders, where the inquest has mainly centred on the failings of the Metropolitan Police.
So do you think men are less likely to report these attacks? Do you feel like it's only the cases of women are the ones that go high profile?
Yes, it's a known fact that men are less likely to report any crime to the police than women. I think that's been a statistic for decades. But there's certain types of crime that men don't report as willingly as women. Certainly when it comes to sexual assaults and rapes, men don't go to the police. They tend to keep quiet about it rather than face what they see as potential public ridicule. You've also got gay men who don't expect to get a fair treatment from the police. And then there's the being challenged, the feeling that you're going to be asked, did I do anything, or did you do anything to incite that person? Did you do something to make that happen? Type of accusation that men often face. There's also a media perception. We seem to perceive that more reports are published about what happens to women, and perhaps the ones that happen to women do go sometimes more high profile, more quickly. But there's been reports in the press during the same period of male rapes, of murders, particularly stabbings, all reported on the local news channels. These attacks on men don't make it into the major headlines so much. So
what would you feel like is a solution to change this? Do you know of any organisations in place that are there to support men who are going through this?
There are certainly organisations out there. I can't name them off the top of my head. But what I would say is that Priti Patel coming up with things like phone lines for women, she would be better off a phone line for everybody, so that if you are going home late at night, you feel uncomfortable, you feel like there may be somebody following you, then the better thing to do might be to be able to pick up the phone and use this phone line. Encouraging people in general to come forward. I think the problem here might be with the police that they are not seen to take reports seriously, and the Stephen Port case does highlight that people have gone to the police with concerns about certain incidents and they've not been followed up on, but they are still recorded, insisting on that things that happen are recorded, so especially if you know the names of the people that are involved. That way, eventually, even the police have to take notice because a picture gets built up. None of these incidents happen in isolation. People who are involved in assaults, attacks on people, murders, very often there's other behaviours that build up to it prior. And if we can keep records and we can begin to identify who these people are, then it will keep both men and women safer.
Perfect. So you can read more about this issue on Rise and East. Today I am Renice Morgan, crime editor for Rise and East, and I'm with Mike Butler.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today, speaking about this issue and highlighting such an issue which we don't see very often in the news. Until next time.